Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named After Reno titled Backlight. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen on Spotify, and we're going to listen through it from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do this. Immediate harmonica and guitars.
There's a blood-red sky, a dimming light. You become your own in the summertime. The ground keeps still underneath my feet, drowning time in a memory.
Very used to those little bells for effect.
I'm getting lost inside your maze, down the rabbit hole with every step I take. Innocence is truly gone, been traded away and never to return. The weight of love, the tumbling dice, falling back, it's never thinking twice. I hear your voice, I can see your eyes. I'm out of sight, I'm further out of mind.
I love the call and response to those.
Glowing in the backlight.
Those really ambient guitar takes.
Oh, glowing in the backlight.
And the sounds of thunder in the background, you know, with those sub drops.
Straight so far away from the road, straight so far away from the road. There's a blood-red sky, a shimmering light. I become my own by the fireside. The air keeps still on a losing street. A one-way road, never paid for me. The weight of love, the tumbling dice, falling back, but never thinking twice. I hear your voice, I can see your eyes. I'm out of sight, I'm further out of mind. Glowing in the backlight. Glowing in the backlight, cold as ice, dynamite, colorful, black and white. Let it go, too uptight. Thunderstorms when day is night.
Great sense of context there.
Or let it bleed, pick it up. Take it slow, and on and on, and on and on we go. On and on, and on and on we go.
Nice little bit of development with the keys here.
On and on, and on and on we go. On and on, and on we go. On and on, and on we go.
Really dramatic outro with a thud. Fantastic experience with that. It's a really interesting track, but we're going to talk about it more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named After Reno titled Backlight. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think it's about someone trying to figure out how to get out of the maze they've entered with someone. They've gone away from the road and they're dealing with a lot of different contradictions and really just trying to figure out what life is, how to escape, how to get back on track. And you maybe it's about like getting stuck in like a relationship with someone where you kind of don't know what's gone wrong. You just feel like you've been warped somewhere else. You know, you can see you're in the middle of that thunderstorm and you kind of find yourself walking away from it, and you can kind of see the light from where they used to be, etc. As you walk away from like the thunderstorm, you can hear the booms as the song tracks, boom, boom, as it gets quieter. It's a nice sense of movement there. It's an interesting song. I would probably want another time listening through it, sort of to kind of get more of a context or nuance for it. But that's my understanding on a first impression. The vocals are tremendous, really distinct, great vocalization of the story here. It was very authentic and believable. It seemed like something very personal to the singer. The way they sang there was like tension in the performance. It was dripping with like an awareness of how to interact with the rest of the instrumental parts around them, but they also knew how to be the focal point and how to really sort of sell the pain and confusion that they were going through. The minor melodies, the bit of vocal fry occasionally, the dual tracking to get a bit of extra intensity in some of those chorus elements, and the call and responding with some parts of the guitars or like the harmonicas and stuff like that was just wonderful. There was so much diversity within the actual way that the vocals were approached within this track. It was a really captivating experience, and I enjoyed my time listening through it, even though I could tell that they weren't having a particularly good time within the piece. At 4 minutes 34, with the understanding that there was solid vocal technique, and again, it was a really engaging vocal performance. It's a song which comprised mainly of different guitar tanks, like maybe sort of strummed acoustics and some slidey reverb-laden lead parts. You've got harmonicas, including a solo in that midsection, which was really sick. And I liked the fact that we also had these doofs, these kind of sub-drops, these sudden booms there, almost to sort of infer there was a storm, and you get actual validation of that from the vocals later on, which I think was really clever to kind of tie that in there and kind of, if you're a listener going, why is there that sound? Oh, it's a thunderstorm. So it takes you back and you're lost in the maze, effectively, the tracker itself. You know, it sucked you in, you're thinking about it. I think a lot of the bass content came from those booms. I'm not sure if there was a bass guitar involved there, but definitely there were guitars, harmonicas. The solo that we have with harmonica in that midsection, just the way it was phrased, it wasn't overcomplicated. I mean, the same can be said for a lot of the open chordal parts from the acoustic steel strings, from the side elements there that would either call and respond with the vocals or coincide with them, and just be it was a sweet taste. Even if it was a bit mysterious, it sounded like it was losing something or longing for something. It's just such a throaty, concise tone to that harmonica when it came in for that first note there. It really took you by surprise, and I think there's little things that kind of balance out that intensity, like the little kind of bells or jingles that you have occasionally to highlight some of the strums and work alongside some of the notes and rhythmic passages from the singer. But it's just a really interesting combination of elements that continues to develop throughout. Like, you do have the keys coming a bit later on, and they don't do a huge amount of crazy stuff. It's more that we either have like the octave chords on the left hand, or we have some occasional notes on the right there, and it's meant to more create a picture rather than a comprehensive backing section. It's like you get enough context in the guitars and other elements stitched together within the tapestry to kind of figure out what the song could be about without the story being told. But it's just adding little bits of shimmer and sheen and polish to a piece there, where at 4.5 minutes you need to continue to change things as you go along. If you have one idea that you stick with, it can be too much of it. And there were points where we cut a section short with like a lead part, and then we went straight into a verse. There were unpredictable amounts of like a section instrumentally of a time before the next part came in, and it was very vocal oriented or story oriented. And I think as with the singer being the focal point of the mix, that makes sense. It's just that it wasn't a composition that you heard and you could immediately piece what was going on. It was like an adventure, especially with those kind of booms in the low section being more of a sort of an atmospheric, sort of almost cinematic device. It's just really shows a lot of depth and an awareness of not just the fundamentals of music theory and composition, but also of how to make an extra special time out of a tune. And I I'm thankful that with the theme, as relatively sort of simplistic as it is, with a lot of those minor key changes there, the notes harmonizing either with the triads or maybe with some extensions there, maybe some dominant sevenths essentially, but we never really lifted out of the mire. It was a very classy sounding country blues track, and I adore how tight the performance was. I appreciate the attention to detail with how things were stacked in the frequency spectrum and in the instrumental layers. And I like the fact that we used like post-production stuff like how wide things were in the stereo field, the panning, different guitars ending up at different takes, the vocals changing sections as well, like in the second verse, I think they were on the sides and maybe something in the center, etc. It's just because the stereo production, recording, mixing, and mastering was commercial grade. The vocals were polished in the mix. They sounded fantastic, and they weren't overproduced. They could just clearly sing. And the way that the guitars had this sort of really bright sound without being too much to go alongside, again, the effects change on the clean sort of electric parts there with the slides and bends and stuff, to go alongside, again, those booms niched wonderfully underneath in the low end. But then the bells and then the keys as well, finding a room in the stereo field. And, it's just things were really well matched. And I think that we found the right amount of instruments to include within a piece like this without oversaturating it. It really just does feel like an adventure. There's dynamic range to this, things aren't the same loudness the entire time, and it's also nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting it was handled, and effectively this is just my review of this track from an act named After Reno, titled Backlight, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.